Hello friends, warm welcome to all to my channel World of Zoology. We'll start our lecture series on biodiversity, and in today's lecture we'll consider the next point from the biodiversity management, that is biodiversity conservation strategies. Biodiversity in a simple way. Biodiversity conservation is defined as a scientific study of nature with the aim of protection of species, their habitat, and ecosystems from excessive rates of extinction and the resources such as land, water, soil, plants, and animals. Natural resource management brings about sustainable interaction between people and natural landscape. Hence, biodiversity conservation deals with the protection, then preservation and management of wild and natural resources. Survival of various species of animals and plants along with habitat protection is achieved through biodiversity conservation. Biodiversity plays an important role in maintaining the ecological functions such as soil fertility, water cycle, decomposition of waste, healthy atmosphere, pollination activities, etc. in nature, and also brings about continuity in food chains and transfer of energy from one trophic level to the next trophic level. It provides us food, medicine, fibers, wood product, and many more which are considered in our previous lecture. For example, over 7,000 species of plants are used for food, although we rely heavily on only 12 major food crops. Most of the human population depends on plants for raw material for medicines and also for upgradation of agriculture, fisheries, and domestic livestock. Though there are several uses of biodiversity, man has been threatened it. This has impacted aquatic ecosystem, soil potential, and human beings. Therefore, biodiversity conservation should aim to maintain all the genetic diversity within the living beings, to preserve various habitats, and to protect extinction of species. So, it's necessary to consider about conservation strategies. Biodiversity can be conserved in two ways, such as in situ conservation and second one is ex situ conservation. In first, that is in situ conservation, which is the process of conservation of habitats, species, and ecosystems in their natural habitat. It is preferable for conservation and preservation of biodiversity if habitats are in rather good condition. But habitats are degraded with competition for land, etc., specifying the need of removal of some species from the area to save them. Then the situation demands for ex situ method. From the civilization, man is cutting trees, hunting wild animals, encroaching wild habitats, and causing threat to wildlife and also the biodiversity. Therefore, as a result, many plants and animal species may become extinct. But in true sense, man realized the necessity to conserve the ecosystem with their component in the second half of 20th century and started taking efforts to mitigate the damage already done to the nature. During past 3 decades, several national parks, sanctuaries, and other protected areas have been established to conserve biodiversity. Several species have been declared as endangered or rare, and certain measures have been taken to improve wildlife. For example, Sundarban is very dynamic and potential ecosystem in India. It harbors 31 major species of mammals. The mammalian species that once existed in Sundarban and have become extinct today are rhinoceros, rhinoceros, wild buffalo, swamp deer, barking deer, then hog deer. The Royal Bengal tiger, Panthera tigris, has its uniqueness for adaptation in mangrove habitat, having distribution in Gangetic Delta of West Bengal and Bangladesh. Due to indiscriminate hunting for its valuable body parts and regular encroachment into its natural habitat, there is continuous man animal conflict, which eventually resulted in declining of tiger population in Sundarban areas of both the countries. That is, in West Bengal, that is part of the India, and Bangladesh. It is a flagship species also as an indicator of health of the forest and ecosystem. It has been considered as globally endangered in 2006 by IUCN and a conservation dependent species listed under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 in India and Appendix 1 of the CITS. Considering the importance and impact, Sundarban Tiger Reserve had been established for in situ conservation of Royal Bengal tiger and other indigenous species of that locality in the year 1973. In situ conservation, that is at their habitat. The conservation of forest trees can be achieved with cooperation of IUCN, that is International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, UNEP, that is United Nations Environment Programme, CGIAR, that is Consultative Group on International Agriculture and Research, and CIFOR, that is Center for International Forestry and Research. Similarly, in situ conservation can be achieved through specifically developed techniques such as artificial insemination, embryo transfer, cloning, etc. Now we'll consider second type of conservation strategy, that is ex situ conservation. It is the process of conservation of biodiversity outside the natural habitat. Ex situ conservation includes establishment of zoos, botanical gardens, conservation strands and gene, then seed banks, seedling, tissue culture, and DNA banks. It also use on some or all of the population when in situ conservation is too difficult or impossible. It could be achieved by the following manner. Seed bank, that is the seed gene bank, that is first one. It is the easiest way to store the germplasm of the plant at low temperature. Seeds are preserved at very low temperature and they are kept viable for longer duration due to the storage at low temperature. Then second one, gene bank. It is an important way of preserving the genetic resource by keeping the germplasm under controlled temperature and humidity in the cold storages. The genetic variability is preserved by gene bank under normal growing conditions. That is, gene bank is responsible for the genetic variability and preserve under normal growing conditions. Third one, that is cryopreservation. In these advanced techniques, conservation is done at very low temperature in liquid nitrogen. The metabolic activities of the organism are arrested at this low temperature and are used later on for the research purpose. Fourth one, that is tissue culture bank. Long-term cryopreservation of non-disease meristems is done in this method. Meristem culture is very popular in plant propagation since it is disease-free method of multiplication. Fifth one, that is long-term captive breeding. It involves capture, maintenance and breeding of the endangered organism. These have lost their habitat partially or fully. Their breeding is carried out under controlled condition in ex situ conservation method of this type. Then sixth one, that is botanical garden. It is fully controlled place where the flowering plants, then fruit plants and vegetables are grown to maintain beauty and calmness of the area. Then animal translocation, which is the next type. Release of animals in new locality is called animal translocation. It is carried out by the following ways in following conditions, or what we can say. First one, when a species on which an animal is dependent becomes rare. Then second one, when a species is endemic to a particular area. That is endemic means restricted to a particular area. Due to habitat destruction and unfavorable environmental condition. Next one, that is increase in population in that particular area, which is responsible for the translocation of animals to a new locality. Next one, that is zoological garden. It is zoo garden where rare and endangered animals are maintained in captivity. The first zoo in India was established in 18th century at Barakpur. At present, there are about 800 zoos all over the world. In India, following types of natural habitats are being maintained. First type of natural habitat is national park. There are about 90 national parks in India. They are fully protected areas where there is ban on the forestry and grazing activities. Their boundaries are well marked and circumscribed. Private ownership rights are not allowed in the national park area. In the national park, emphasis are given to the preservation of one species of plant or animal. These are the examples of the national parks in the India. First one, that is Corbett National Park, and the area where it is situated is Uttarakhand and established in 1921 with the area 1318.5 square kilometers. Just like that, the area of each national park is given with the year of establishment and state henceforth. Kanha National Park from MP, then the next one, Sarishka National Park from Rajasthan, Gir National Park, which is situated in Gujarat, then Kaziranga National Park from Assam, Ranthambore National Park from Rajasthan, Silent Valley National Park that belongs to the state Kerala, Nanda Devi National Park of the Uttarakhand, Sundarban National Park of the West Bengal. These are examples of some national parks in the India. We'll consider the next point, that is wildlife sanctuaries. There are more than 500 sanctuaries in India. Sanctuary is a protected area where attention is paid of conservation of only wild animals. Its boundaries are not well defined like national parks. Human activities such as harvesting of fodder and timber, collection of fruits and forest products, tourism, etc., are allowed in the wildlife sanctuaries. To some extent, private ownership rights are allowed in the sanctuary. These are some examples of the major wildlife sanctuaries in India: Madumalai, then Hazaribagh Wildlife Sanctuary, Mount Abu, Ghana Bird Sanctuary, Annamalai Wildlife Sanctuary, etc. are given here in the table. Then we'll consider the third point, that is biosphere reserve. There are about 15 biosphere reserves in India. It is a large protected region that covers thousands of square kilometers of area. The large reserves are deliberately maintained to enable to the target species to exist in large number. It acts as a living laboratory to test management of land, water and biodiversity. It has three zones such as core zone, buffer zone and transition zone. We'll consider one by one. Core zone is the innermost undisturbed and fully protected area. Second one, that is buffer zone, is sandwiched between inner core zone and outer transitional zone. In buffer zone, educational and research activities are allowed. The transition, that is third zone, is the outermost part of the biosphere reserve where human activities like agriculture, fishery, forestry, recreation are allowed. Some of the major biosphere reserves in India which are given in this table form: Nanda Devi, Biosphere Reserve is situated in the Uttarakhand state and established in 1982 with area 5,860.69 square kilometer, and the Gulf of Mannar, Great Nicobar, Manas. These are some of the examples which are given here in this chart that constitute biosphere reserve in India. Thank you for watching this video. Do like if you like the video, share for the benefit of the maximum students, and subscribe the channel for the intimation of the further videos of the same series. Thank you once again.